Hello, Raptors fans, and welcome back to Raptors Report. I'm your host, Julian, and today we're going to be talking about the Toronto Raptors' victory over the Portland Trailblazers. But before we do that, I want to talk about Scottie Barnes and his defensive excellence this season, because there are some rumblings going around that there may be some awards for Scottie Barnes this season. So the Toronto Raptors as a team are 15-7 this season, which is good for second in the Eastern Conference. And they have impressed in a number of ways, but I think that it's pretty obvious that their defense has been the end of the court where they've been doing the heavy lifting. So the Toronto Raptors are 13th in offensive rating, but they are 5th in the league in defensive rating. And it's not really a surprise. Scottie Barnes has been a force for the Toronto Raptors on the defensive end. And I want to break down what I've seen from him in that regard and let you know why I think that he is one of the candidates for Defensive Player of the Year this season. So Scottie Barnes was drafted in part because of his potential as a defender. And he has a huge wingspan, broad shoulders, good height, great foot speed. He's a cerebral player who understands how to play basketball on both ends. But being a strong prospect isn't enough in the NBA. You really have to show that you can live up to that promise night in, night out. And prior to last season, his defensive impact wasn't as big and wasn't really matching the hype that you would expect from a player with his pedigree. So one of the issues, and I've mentioned this for a while now, is that he has kind of fancied himself as a point guard. And along with Nick Nurse's guidance on that front, he was guarding the point of attack on defense way too often in his first 3 seasons in the league. His foot speed is good for a big, it's amazing for a big. It's good for a forward, and it's kind of mediocre for a guard. So if he is matched up against a smaller player with really good foot speed, he does not have the lateral foot speed to stay attached to that type of player. And while he can make up for it with his length a little bit, he'll be in a trailing position a lot of the time. And that's what we were seeing his first 3 seasons in the league when he was on the perimeter trying to guard guys. And he really just could not keep those types of players in front of him often enough. And worse, I think it was mitigating the strengths, the huge strengths that he has as an interior help defender, and just really putting those skills to waste when he was on the perimeter constantly. Now, fast forward to last season, where Scottie Barnes really locked in on the defensive end. He leveled up and started playing to his strengths as a player, which is playing the power forward position on defense. And last season was seen as kind of a wasted season from Scottie Barnes. His stats declined across the board, apart from just a couple. But what I saw from him on the defensive end in that season really set the stage for what he's doing this season, because last season he did take the hype and turn it into reality, and he made himself a really strong player on the defensive end. Now, I don't want to really open up the whole can of worms about what position Scottie Barnes plays in, especially on offense, but I think it's pretty safe to say that on defense, he is a big. So he can't, he doesn't have the height and size to deal with the true giants of the NBA, like the rugged, large 7-foot centers, especially on the boards. I think that he can match up against those players when they're trying to score, especially if they're a perimeter-oriented big who maybe tries to drive and get to the rim. But against players who use brute strength, it's not really his game. And I think that the game against the Knicks really showed that when they kind of got beat up on the boards. And that is why the Raptors are paying Jakob Poeltl the big bucks. They shelled out this past offseason to give Jakob Poeltl a big contract, and it really just goes to show why. We saw it last night against the Portland Trailblazers. The Trailblazers have a true giant in Donovan Clingan, who is, over 7 feet tall, and he has a short neck. So he's actually probably more like 7'4" or something like that, like an absolute beast of a man. And having Scottie Barnes guard that type of player, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't really highlight what he can do as a player. And it's better just to have him playing alongside a center, a guy like Jakob Poeltl, who understands the position and has the size needed to help out on the boards and, help out against the true centers in the NBA. And when that happens, I think that really unlocks Scottie Barnes and allows him to play at his comfort level, which is playing against other forwards on defense, and also, most importantly, being able to kind of roam around and provide help when it's needed. So not only does he do that, so he plays the forward when Jakob Poeltl is on the floor, but when Jakob Poeltl is off the floor, and even when he's playing with Sandro Mamukelashvili, who is listed as the center off of the bench, Scottie Barnes really is the center on the bench. And when I talk about that, I mean, centers, what is their job is to play help defense, protect the rim, box out, grab rebounds. Scottie Barnes is doing the majority of that kind of stuff when he is on the floor playing with Sandro, or even when he's playing with CMB or Ingram. Just basically when Poeltl is not on the floor, Scottie Barnes is playing the 5. And they're comfortable to do that because most of the time, other teams do not have one of those true giants or centers off of the bench. And I think it's a good look for them when they use it sparingly, especially in bench situations. So Scottie Barnes is an absolute menace as a help defender. He has a really amazing combination of size, speed, and awareness on that end. He has his antenna up and he is looking for plays where he can help. One of the other things that he does very well is that he will pick up the other team's best offensive big or forward. So maybe a perimeter-oriented big or a forward with good offensive skill. Scottie Barnes will play against that player and make life tough. He has good lateral foot speed. He can body up, contest shots, do all of the stuff that you need a player at that position to do. But the big thing is that he knows when to leave his man. So he will leave his man to guard the rim, double team on the perimeter. He's very good at that, springing traps, and also grabbing steals when he's playing in the passing lane and anticipating passes being thrown over the top, or, long distance passes. He always has his antenna up for that. He has his head on a swivel, waiting for passes like that to be made. He's also very good at guarding the pick and roll, although he's not tasked to do it very often because other teams kind of know that he is a good pick and roll defender. He has very quick feet, which sort of nullifies some of the advantages that you would get out of that play because he can help on the ball handler and recover to his man and catch lobs that are going up over the top. So he doesn't get involved in that play very often just because he is a good defender and they'll put somebody else in the pick and roll rather than him, but it's worth mentioning. Scottie Barnes is also not a slouch on the boards, especially for a forward. He's averaging 8 per game, which is a good mark to hit. Securing possessions through rebounding is kind of one of the most overlooked stats. I think that people kind of look at rebounds and just expect them to happen. They're really only something that you care about when they aren't happening, like, prior to Jakob Poeltl coming back, and Jakob Poeltl being in and out of the lineup, it really just goes to show how important that kind of stuff is, because when he's not in the game, the Raptors struggle on the boards, and when he is in the game, the Raptors are just fine. In fact, I think they're a good rebounding team. And a lot of that is due to Scottie Barnes. He's the second leading rebounder on the team after Jakob Poeltl. They're almost tied in that regard. And when Jakob Poeltl is there boxing out, tipping the ball, putting his hands up, keeping the offensive players off of the board, Scottie Barnes can, sky and grab the rebound. He also boxes out as well. It's not just, him swooping and grabbing rebounds out of the air. He does box out, especially when he's playing the 5 in bench situations. And I think that the steals that he generates and the rebounds that he grabs really help the Toronto Raptors offensively. And that's pretty interesting because, those are generally defensive stats, defensive rebounding and steals. But Scottie Barnes is one of the best players at turning those things into fast break points. He can grab a steal and take the ball in himself. He does that a lot. Maybe he'll hit a deflection and another teammate will get a steal and pass it ahead to him and he'll score. Or one of the things that he's really good at is when he gets a rebound, he is looking to push the pace, and he's an excellent outlet passer. He can get a fast break started like nobody else, just throwing it down the court, pinpoint kind of Jokic or Kevin Love style passes where you throw it way ahead and just manufacture a bucket out of thin air. That is a big part of his game, the fast break, starting the fast break, leading the fast break, and being an outlet for the fast break. And a lot of that comes from the defensive stuff he does on the boards and through steals. So Scottie Barnes, in terms of the raw counting stats, he is 7th in the league in blocks. He has a whole bunch of them. I believe he's up to 36 this season in terms of blocks. And he is the only player in the league with at least 30 steals and 30 blocks this season. And it really just goes to show the sort of, variety of types of impacts that he can make on the court. He can guard the basket. He's a ball hawk. He can play defense on the perimeter against larger players. He is just an all-around, very versatile defensive player that can get it done in a lot of different ways. And I think that, it's a holistic thing. Yes, he has the counting stats, he has the blocks, he has the steals, but the Toronto Raptors just look so much better defensively when he's on the court. Teams are a lot more afraid to drive when he's in the paint, especially when you combine the two of he and Pirtle. Those two do a good job of locking up the paint, making sure that there's not a lot of stuff going to the basket and other teams have to kind of settle for jump shots. That's what I like to see. That's how you know that players are playing competent defense, especially on the inside, is that other teams are a little bit more reticent to drive and try and score around the basket. I think that's a really big thing. I also think that defensive rebounding, when he's playing with Pirtle, or even when he's playing off of the bench, that is a big element to being a good defensive player, and he's got that as well. So Scottie Barnes, I think just if you were to ask anybody this season, I think that they would have him on their first team all-defense squad. So maybe not the defensive player of the year, but he is getting recognition around the league for what he is doing on the defensive end. And I think that that is going to be something that he is going to be recognized for this season, as long as he qualifies and the Raptors continue to play good basketball. So there are more things that he's done that I haven't gotten to, but I really wanted to highlight what he is doing on the defensive end, because it is really impressive. And it's really showing me something from him where he can impact the game in almost every way on the court. He really can do almost everything. And he is showing that this season. He has been an unbelievable player for the Raptors, and a huge part of that is on the defensive end. In any case, let's get to the game the Toronto Raptors played against the Portland Trailblazers last night. So we'll start the player evaluations off with the guy that I have been yammering about for the past 10 or so minutes, and that is Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes was absolutely unbelievable in this game. He finished with 28 points on 10 of 18 shooting. He was 3 of 7 from 3, so he continues to be just a knockdown three-point shooter. He was 5 of 7 from the line, had 7 rebounds, 7 assists, although he should have had more, to be quite honest. Many of the passes that he made were either dropped or they missed the shot. He had 1 steal. He had 2 blocks, including a game-saving block at the end on Denny Avdia. In fact, his first block of the game was also on Denny Avdia, so pretty impressive. He did have 6 turnovers in this game, but as I said, a lot of those were off of passes that didn't get through or bounced off of the hands of other players, and I guess they assigned the turnover to him. But man, what a game from him on both ends. He was absolutely fantastic, magnificent. All of the superlatives that you want to use, he was that. He was that type of player. Making shots in a timely manner, making highlight reel passes. He posterized Donovan Clingan on a late shot clock possession where he just sprinted into the paint and threw it down over top of him. He was unreal. He is emerging as one of the superstar players in the NBA. And it's almost undeniable that this guy is pushing the boundaries of what he's capable of. And that is super exciting. Scottie Barnes is the ultimate example of how, growth is not linear, because he has had some ups and downs in his career, and it is really looking like he is starting to put it all together. And I think that one of the biggest things about his season this year is that he is relatively free of injuries, knock on wood. If you've been a Scottie supporter like I have for a long time and have kept the flame alive, he has done a huge service to us, because it's very easy right now to sing his praises and defend him and talk about him online. So, kudos, Scottie, you're making us look smart, but at the end of the day, he's also making the Raptors look really good. And I would say, just easily the best player in this game on either team, although Denny Avdia did have a good game as well. Next up, the player, who on most nights would have gotten the player of the game. One of the most efficient nights of the season for Immanuel Quickley was last night, and he had just an excellent offensive game. 23 points on 9 of 11 shooting, never forget. 5 of 3 from 3. 0 of 1 from the line, okay. But he had 5 boards, 8 assists, and only 2 turnovers, and the Pirtle Quickley pick and roll was unstoppable, okay? It was deadly. the Portland Trailblazers did not have an answer to that play, especially later on in the game. Poeltl was setting those huge screens that are very difficult to get around, and Quickley was feeling it. My God, he was feeling it. The first possession of the game, I believe the first basket that the Raptors scored was an Immanuel Quickley pull-up three. And that's why I've always supported that shot. I think I mentioned it on the podcast. A lot of people like to complain about when he gets a little trigger happy. My thought process is that he is a good enough shooter that every time he is open, you should be wanting him to shoot it, okay? And sometimes he'll be hot, sometimes he'll be cold, but he is consistent enough with that shot that it is a good offensive option. It is a great outcome for the Toronto Raptors for him to be shooting open three-point shots. 5 of 6 from 3, that is spectacular. Some of them were on kickouts, some of them were coming off of a Jakob Poeltl screen, some of them were pull-up threes in transition. He was just had it going in a number of different ways. Another way that you can use the pick and roll is to get into the paint, and he has rediscovered his floater. It's not even a floater, because most of the time when you see a floater from a guard, it goes up high so that it can get over the hands of the center who is coming out to challenge the shot. Whereas Quickley, it's like more of just kind of like a push, where the arc is not very long, it just kind of goes in, but he gets it off so quick, that push shot, that it usually beats the help defense. Like, they can't come over and challenge the shot quickly enough, and he has enough daylight to just kind of flip it in. Man, what a great game from him. And then the playmaking. So Immanuel Quickley is more of a scoring guard, so he is a guy that likes to call his own number, and I think that's good. I think in Toronto, I mentioned it when he first got here, Immanuel Quickley, is that he is more of a scoring guard, and Toronto fans, I think Jose Calderon sort of trained them to expect a point guard who is more of a passer. And maybe it's the unselfishness of Canadians that they like playmaking a little bit more than the bravado of the Americans who call their own number and feel good about themselves. It's more about, communism and socialism here in Canada. We like to share the ball a little bit more, maybe, who knows. But he did a good job passing the ball last night as well. And a lot of it came out of the pick and roll. And so, you bring 2 to the ball. If a guy's torching you in the pick and roll, you have to send an extra defender. And when that happens, somebody is open. And, a lot of the assists that he made came out of that play. So great game. Just a really, really good game from Quickley. On defense, he is good. He's starting to get better at drawing offensive fouls on screens. He is providing help. A lot of the time, he is doing a decent job of keeping players in front of him. But, on offense is really where he makes his mark, and he showed up big time last night. They wouldn't have won that game without him. After that, we kind of mentioned him already in the first part of this video, also mentioned him to go along with Quickley in terms of the pick and roll. Jakob Poeltl was great in this game. He had 11 points on 5 of 7 shooting. He was 1 of 1 from the free throw line. He had 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 turnovers, and 5 fouls. So he only played 26 minutes this game because the refs were dinging him with a lot of kind of ticky-tack fouls. And I thought the reffing was okay in this game. I'm not going to complain get the Hornets game or whatever. But the reffing was fine, even though the Trailblazers shot more free throws than the Raptors did, 11 more. I think it was okay this game. But Jakob Poeltl did get in the sort of rough end of the whistle. So he didn't get to play a lot in the second half. But man, he was needed in this game, and especially when the Trailblazers came back at the end of this game. The Raptors were up by double digits. Jakob Poeltl picked up his 5th foul and he had to sit. And as a result, the Trailblazers kind of took advantage of that. They were playing small ball along with the Raptors, and they were kind of getting it done, going to the rim, making open shots. And so they put Jakob Poeltl back in the game toward the end, and he really just sealed the deal. His screens were monumental. They were instrumental in getting Immanuel Quickley open to make all of the shots that he did. His defensive impact was noticeable. For example, Donovan Clingan ended up with 3 offensive rebounds, which is lower than he usually gets. 5 is what he averages on the season, so he's under that mark. Clingan, he's a huge body. He is massive. And you got to keep that guy off the boards. You got to keep him from dominating you inside. And Poeltl did that. And then on the other end, he was very efficient. 11 points on 5 of 7 shooting. He has great, great, great hands. So I mentioned on social media that Scottie Barnes has to pass the ball, get these really fast passes in order to get it past defenders. If you are making a a big-to-big pass or a pass that is trying to thread the needle to a player inside, a lot of the time you got to put a lot of mustard on that pass. Because if it's too slow, it won't make it through. The defender they have great reflexes. They will knock the ball out of the air or they'll intercept it and grab it. You got to actually throw it hard. And he tried doing that. One of the passes I remember to CMB did not make it through because he wasn't anticipating the pass. He made that very same pass to Jakob Poeltl. He needed to throw it hard to get it past the defenders because Poeltl was right in the spot to get a layup. And Poeltl has great hands. He just put his hands out, caught the ball, laid it up and in. And it looks simple. And a lot of the times, like, whoop-de-doo, he caught the ball. Well, you know what? That's way more important than it sounds. That is so much more important than it sounds. So yeah, I think he had a really good game in a number of different areas, defensively, with the screens, all of that stuff. He was the third best player in the starting lineup. Then we'll go to Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram did not have a great game, although he figured out a way to score at the end of the game. So he started off very well. He started in the first quarter quite well, shooting and getting to his spots and being tenacious on the offensive boards. He was able to score a bunch of points in the first quarter. Unfortunately, after that, the Portland Trailblazers have an amazing defender. His name is Toumani Camara. You probably have heard of him at this point. He is one of the better forward defenders in the NBA. He is all of the stuff that I was talking about with Scottie Barnes. He's similar to that. He can provide help defense. He is a very good man defender, all of that good stuff. He was really, really tough to beat last night, and his primary defensive cover was Brandon Ingram. So it was a tough night for him, and between him and a couple of other players on the Portland Trailblazers, Brandon Ingram had a tough time getting it going, especially in the middle parts of this game. And whenever they tried to give him the ball in his spots, they would send Duda the ball, or they'd do a good job, covering him in that spot. And he wasn't able to get it going one-on-one. So what he did at the end of the game was find ways that he could actually contribute without having to go one-on-one. So cuts were a big way that he scored in the fourth quarter. So he made a bunch of really nice cuts. And a lot of those were kind of the deciding baskets. Like, he was able to cut to the rim and score a huge clutch basket right at the end of the shot clock expiring. He was able to do that. He did that a number of times in this game. He beat the clock on a really nice passing sequence where the Toronto Raptors were able to take advantage of the Portland Trailblazers zone, and he was the final guy who got the ball and he was able to put it in with almost no time left on the shot clock. That happened at the end of the game as well. The Raptors ran out of time basically, and he made a nice cut and was able to dunk it. Just a good game in the fourth quarter, playing off of other players instead of having to, do the heavy lifting as a one-on-one offensive player. And a lot of the time it's 2-on-1 because they send two to him when he is in the post. And they've got to find a way, maybe when RJ gets back, they can run some of those cut actions that allow him to get the ball out of those double teams. But he's kind of struggling with that at the moment. But, he kind of made up for it at the end. Last, and I'll say, but not least, Jacoby Walter. So Jacoby Walter, obviously very good defender. The unfortunate thing is that unlike the Knicks, who have Brunson, in the game before, a couple games prior to that, the Cleveland Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell, those two guys are huge, big-time guard scorers. And that is really what Jacoby excels at on the defensive end, is the point of attack. With the Trailblazers, their point of attack guy is Denny Avdia, who's a lot bigger. And so that's more of a problem, and I don't think that Jacoby Walter made as big an impact as he did in the other games. And especially on the offensive end, he struggled. He only made one shot. It was a 3, but he went 1 for 5 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 turnover in 18 minutes. So a down night after some pretty strong performances by him. But, as I mentioned, growth is not linear. You can have a couple of bad games as long as you're showing some promise. He's a second-year player. I am still very confident in him and have liked what I've seen, especially recently. So a down game from him. But let's get to the bench, because we got to do the flip side of that. We got to talk about a guy who has been, pretty poor up to this point, but he had his best game of the season. He was fantastic. He contributed in a whole bunch of different ways, and he made a 3-point shot. Grady Dick was awesome last night. So let's read the stat line first and we'll get into it after. He had 14 points on 6 of 8 shooting, and the majority of those, 5 of those, were inside the arc. A couple of them came off of some nice closeout attacks where he took a couple of dribbles, pulled up, and hit a mid-range shot, I really like that option for him. A couple were in transition. That is another way that he has found to contribute offensively, is getting out in transition. He's a good vertical athlete. He's a good straight line athlete. He can run, he can dunk. He has good body control, all of that stuff. So he is a good fast break player. And then he had 3 rebounds, 0 assists, 1 steal, and we'll talk about that, and 1 turnover with 4 fouls. But this was a complete game from him. And this isn't just an offensive thing that I'm talking about. He was actually quite good on defense. And I talked about this when I did do my evaluation of him, where I was kind of, I split it into 2 parts. So I have seen a lot of growth from him as a defender, especially as a help defender, and the scheme that they are running in order to make him an effective defender. I went into that. And also his kind of other stuff that he's doing. So like his athleticism, his finishing ability is leveled up, all of that stuff. He showed everything last night. His help defense is actually quite good. He likes to double team. They have him so that he is never, or very rarely, the primary defender on an island against another perimeter player. They like to switch him off of those players when they have the opportunity. If there's a screen play, they will just switch him immediately. But another thing that they'll do is that if he is sort of in isolation against one of those players, they will just peel a defender off of somebody else and have Grady Dick either double team the player who has the ball or quickly rotate off of that player and find somebody who's open. And it was just kind of a masterclass. Like, he also gambles on steals. And he is a good gambler because he has good hands and he knows when to kind of attack and go after those loose balls. There was one possession last night that caught my eye where he, and it was actually the one where he got a steal. And he tried to get a steal on the primary possession, the play where they passed the ball to his man. He gambled and ran out and tried to hit the ball loose. Unfortunately, he was a little off target and his man got the ball, okay? The Raptors immediately sent help. I believe it was Scottie Barnes who came over to pick up that player who now had a free path to the basket. And so Scottie stopped that player. And then that player tried to pass it to the open player that was helped off of. But guess who was there? Grady Dick recovered and ran back and got the steal off of that pass. It was a really heady play, and it kind of shows what their philosophy is with Grady Dick. They don't want him guarding one-on-one because that is not a strength of his. He does not have good lateral foot speed. He cannot stay in front of people. So what do they have him do? Play in the passing lanes, gamble for steals, double team, play aggressive help defense, contribute that way. And I think that that is an interesting way to use him and exploit the things that he does well while mitigating the things that he does poorly. And then at the end of this game, when he was feeling super good, super confident, he pulled up for a 3 in transition and made that. And it was kind of the coup de grace in this game that sealed it as the best game of the season for him, because he showed all of the things that he improved at, while at the same time showing, that he can make one of those shots that I need him to make, that I really have been begging for him to be good at, which is a 3 that involves motion, that is above the break. All 3 of those things were present on that final shot that he made near the end of the game. So excellent game from Grady Dick. I loved what he provided. After that, we will go to Colin Murray-Boyles, actually. Colin Murray-Boyles had another impressive game. He's put together a couple recently where he has been impactful. And it wasn't all roses in this game because he made some mistakes on defense, some pretty noticeable ones where he either helped too much. So he peeled off of Toumani Camara in one possession to double the post when it wasn't needed. And Toumani Camara got an open shot. I believe he missed the shot, but at the same time, not a good idea because Toumani Camara was, on fire from 3 prior to that. There was another possession where he misplayed the pick and roll, and he came over to double on the ball handler, and there was an easy lob over the top for a dunk. It was Robert Williams III who made that dunk. But other than that, he was good defensively. He has really good hands, and he makes plays. He is a rookie. He's going to make some mistakes on defense, but at the same time, he does do good stuff. Like, he is an active player who has active hands. He's not a passive player. He's trying to make plays happen. And that's really what the Raptors want to do on defense, is that they want to turn other teams over. They want to be aggressive, and they want to make other teams think twice about passing the ball. He had a steal in this game. He had 4 rebounds in 16 minutes, which is fine. 2 offensive rebounds. One of them came off of one of his own misses, so kind of a Moses Malone style, but he put the ball up and in. He had a nice seal in transition where he got all the way down to the court. Scottie Barnes got the rebound, threw it up the court. CMB kind of sealed his man inside, caught the ball, and then had 2 shots to lay it up and in and managed to do it. He is a good finisher. He is showing me some stuff. I like that game from him. After that, Sandro Mamukelashvili had a good game. He had 6 points on 3 of 4 shooting. He had 7 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block, and it was a nice block. He is good for like one kind of highlight reel block every game. He is athletic. He has good ups. And while he's not like a true center, he can provide help. He has a good motor on that end. And he did a good job on the board, 7 rebounds. That was tied for first on the team between him, Yak, and Scottie Barnes. They all had 7. So I think he did his job pretty well. And then he is a really good player in transition. That is one of the ways that he gets baskets. And he was able to catch the ball in transition and make a couple of layups there. He got an and one on one of those plays. So good job from Sandro. Again, this was kind of a disappointing night offensively for Jamal Shed, but he made up for it on defense. So it was a very feast or famine, where the feast was on defense and the famine was on offense. He scored 3 points on 1 of 8 shooting, which is not good. He also had a pretty careless turnover, which really stood out. Like he clapped his hands and was upset with himself. And he didn't make any threes. He was 0 of 3 from 3, 1 of 1 from the free throw line. He did, again, like he is always almost always good for 5 assists. Like that's pretty impressive off of the bench. He played 23 minutes, got 5 assists. Good decision maker, good pick and roll player, great like pass accuracy, all of that good stuff. So you would say like, well, this isn't a very good game, but then you peep that he had 5 steals in this game. And so, you know, that kind of washes away a lot of the sins that he committed. 5 steals is huge. One of the steals that he had was like a really impressive one where he was the guy guarding Donovan Clingan in the post. And he's giving up like a solid foot, at least. Like it is almost comical how much smaller he is than Donovan Clingan. And so they obviously threw the ball over the top and got it into Clingan, but that's when Jamal Shed kind of sprung into action and like jumped around Clingan and knocked the ball loose. He had a couple of nice deflections on drives and pokes where he poked the ball loose and got a steal that way. He was intercepting passes. It was like a really good night defensively for him. 5 steals is very impressive. But on offense, he was pretty miserable. He needs to find a way to impact the game and score when he, doesn't have a shot going. He was blocked a number of times. I think Robert Williams had 2 blocks on him, really like snuff out blocks where he fell to the floor. Like it was not good that way. I think he needs to find some kind of, in-between game, a mid-range game that allows him to score when his shot isn't going. But I would still say a positive game. Those 5 steals were very big. Last and least here was Ochai Agbaji. Ochai Agbaji had another disappointing game. He had 2 points and 1 of 5 shooting. He was 0 of 2 from 3, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. And his defense wasn't good either. He had some problems guarding Deni Avdija. Deni Avdija drew a number of fouls on him. He was getting too deep into the paint. And then, once you got 2 feet in the paint, the chances that you get called for a foul go up astronomically. And so, he wasn't very effective on either end of the ball. And kudos to him. He did at least attempt threes in this game. So his attempt rate for threes has fallen through the floor because he doesn't feel confident in it. He did take a couple of threes this game, and unfortunately he missed them. But yeah, that was the game. I thought it was a strong game by the Toronto Raptors. The Trailblazers are not a bad team. They are a mediocre team. They have talent. They have size. They have guys who can score and play make and play defense. They've got some tools on offense as well. They pass the ball around. They play an unselfish style. And they've got some, they've got talent. And so this was not an easy game by any stretch. They made it a little difficult, especially at the end when the Raptors, went up big, and then the Blazers did not go away. They tried to they got it, I believe, within 2. And so the Raptors had to really work to get to clinch this one. And they did. And not every game is going to be a work of art. You're not going to be beating teams by 10, even if it's in your building and you're playing against a team with an underwater record. sometimes you just have to go out and prove that you're the better team. Other teams aren't going to roll over just because you have a good record. They're going to try and win the game. They have confidence in themselves and they think they can win every game. And the Trailblazers are like that. And the Raptors didn't play a perfect game, especially in the first half, especially in the first quarter. The Raptors' help defense was kind of getting picked apart. The rotations were late. They were over-helping, and the Trailblazers were making their shots, especially Toumani Camara, who was on fire in the first quarter. But at the end, like they kind of fixed the defensive problems that they had. They cleaned a lot of that up. There were long stretches of the game where the Raptors got like back-to-back-to-back stops, kind of really put the brakes on the Trailblazers attack. And then they got offensive contributions from a couple of players, quickly, Scottie, Grady Dick. Those guys all had really good offensive games. So I think this is a quality win. This is something that you can hang your hat on and kind of be proud of. It wasn't against like the best opponent in the world, but it was a very solid game, even though there was a bit of turbulence. So next up, the Toronto Raptors have a difficult game coming up against the LA Lakers, and that will be happening on Thursday. So tomorrow at 7:30, of course, they'll be playing Luka and Austin Reeves, LeBron, that crew. They have good role players. Rui Hachimura, really good shooter with some size. Marcus Smart, he has kind of reinvigorated his career. He only really has to worry about playing defense on that squad, so that's his like super talent, so he's been good. They have LeBron back, and Father Time is being very cruel to him, but I'm sure that once he sees the Toronto Raptors jerseys, he'll forget all about that and torture us yet again. Hopefully the Raptors are able to keep him under 10 points and snap that streak that he has going. But, you know, I'm not too confident. That'll be definitely a good test for the Toronto Raptors if they're able to beat the Lakers, who are one of the better teams in the league. They're 15-5. They are second in the West. So this is a good measuring stick. If the Raptors are able to get a win here, you know, they can tout it. They can talk about it. You can boost it up and say that this is kind of one of the defining moments of the season for them. So hopefully they're able to get a win. I don't know if they will. I think the Lakers are very good, especially Luka Doncic is having an MVP caliber season, and Austin Reeves will be, you know, he might make an all-NBA team this season. He's been that good. So yeah, that should be an entertaining one to watch. Hope you enjoyed the video, because that's it. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps the channel grow, lets the algorithm know that this is content that other Raptors fans would like to watch. So please do that. Also hit the bell icon so that you know when videos go live. Also, join the Discord. We have a vibrant, active community on Discord that you can be a part of, talk to other Raptors fans, and also watch the podcast every Monday at 8:30 along with me and Steve, aka Raptors Shack. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Raptors Report, your source for in-depth Raptors content.